Hello guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about Artemi Panarin and Sergei Bobrovsky with the Columbus Blue Jackets and the trade rumors surrounding them. Now, we haven't heard a lot of trade rumors lately, but the ones that we have heard about a lot is Artemi Panarin with the Columbus Blue Jackets and the whole situation with him, and of course Sergei Bobrovsky, another guy that has serious question marks going into the next season. Now, they are arguably the best two players with the Columbus Blue Jackets, both of them having 1 year left on their current deals. So with Columbus going into next season, there's a lot of question marks with them going forward and the future of the team. Now, both of those players have been serious core players for the Columbus Blue Jackets, and we're hoping to be the future for them. Bobrovsky being their goaltender for quite a long time, Artemi Panarin being acquired last offseason by the Chicago Blackhawks. Really, those two guys were supposed to lead the charge, and they're arguably the best two players from the Columbus last season. Now, Artemi Panarin is right in his prime at age 26, a left winger. He won the 2015-2016 Calder Trophy with the Chicago Blackhawks. In the 17-18 season, we really saw him have his magical year. He played 81 games, had 27 goals, 55 assists for 82 points, was one of the best Corsi guys in the league, and was really dominating throughout every single game. He was one of their best players, if not their best player throughout. With Chicago Blackhawks and the Columbus Blue Jackets, he's played 243 games, had 88 goals, 145 assists for 233 points, one of the best players throughout that span, and he's one of the more talented players in the league and starting to make a name for himself, not just being one of Patrick Kane's line mates, proving himself as one of the best wingers in the league by dominating all the teams he went up against and was being the by far best player on Columbus. Now, for the Sergei Bobrovsky side of things, he's been their starter goaltender for quite a long time and has been one of the elite goaltenders in the NHL for quite a long time as well. Of course, originally being with the Philadelphia Flyers, he really did find this and start to find his game with the Columbus Blue Jackets. At age 29, he's somewhat still in his prime, but he's going to get a little bit older here as the years go by. Of course, he won the 2012-2013 Vezina Trophy and the 2016-2017 Vezina. And this last season, he had another great season, putting up 65 games, having a 2.42 goals against average, with a .921 save percentage. In his career, he's had magical numbers with 395 games, 2.44 goals against average, with a .920 save percentage, among one of the best in the league. He's one of the best goaltenders in the league, if not the best goaltender in the league right now, and he's shown that with the past couple of years of being that Vezina candidate over and over again. So for Columbus, this is a huge goaltender and a huge part of their core, and one of the main reasons why they make the playoffs year after year is because of guys like Bobrovsky. So on their radar, they're going to want to at least get something back if they were to trade him. Now, honestly, with Columbus and these trade rumors, it really is a lot to unpack, so it really is convenient that both of these players are on the same team. For Columbus, it is very worrying for the future of their team, because both these players don't seem to be too loyal to the team and might want out. These players are looking for trades, possibly. Now, when it comes to Artemi Panarin, he's not exactly been quiet in saying that he doesn't really enjoy Columbus all that much. Obviously, he was really their franchise-type player here, so Columbus is in their best interest to keep him, but it doesn't seem like Panarin really wants to stay there anyways. Now, of course, most of you guys know that he set a September 13th deadline to get a contract situation done, or to get a contract or a potential trade done. That was his deadline, September 13th. We're 4 days away from that, but what we've heard so far, at least on the contract side, has pretty much been barren, and we haven't heard a lot from it. There's been bits and pieces of information here and there, but what we've heard of on the contract side of things for Artemi Panarin has really been nothing. We really haven't heard of any talks negotiating, and it seems like talks between Artemi Panarin and the Columbus Blue Jackets, at least contract-wise, are at a standstill. So for contracts, I don't think one is getting done in the next few days. I think that if the contract were to get done, it would be through the season if Columbus were to do well. But let's say Columbus doesn't do well, and halfway through the season they still don't have Artemi Panarin locked up, they don't have Bobrovsky locked up, and they're doing pretty meh. That's a terrible situation for Columbus, and if they're in that situation, it'd probably be in their best interest to let some of those guys go for assets coming back. Set that September 13th deadline because apparently he doesn't want to deal with the business side of things when it comes to the hockey negotiations during the season, which is respectable, but in my eyes, he did say that he did a favor by telling Columbus Blue Jackets to trade him at this date, but to be honest, he said that publicly, so it's like teams already know that that's happening, so they're going to have lower offers for Columbus. It really isn't all that much of a favor. Now they know, now that teams teams know that are going to want to trade Artemi Panarin is going to have a lesser deal coming to them, and it's going to have lesser players coming to them as well. Now, we've seen teams that Artemi Panarin wants to go to, teams that have interest in him. It seems like the two New York teams, for some reason, are swirled up in the rumors here. New York Rangers apparently being the front runner there for Artemi Panarin, and the New York Islanders expressing interest in him. Now, I don't know if Islanders are really a great fit there. They have too much offense. I don't know why they get him, because I think they need some defense there. The New York Rangers could work, but again, they're in that phase of transitioning. They're going into that youth phase. So for Panarin, while they could be good, well, once the Rangers are a really good team, I think he might just be a little bit too old. Now, of course, maybe those teams could just be checking in, showing just a little bit of interest, but to me, I feel like a lot of teams should be checking on what the trade interest and what the trade offers from Columbus are for Artemi Panarin. He's a fantastic winger in the middle of his prime, and he's looking to be great going into next season. So I feel like if any team were wise and wanted to get some more depth on the wing, they should go after him, at least check in a little bit. And I feel like for Panarin, with 1 year left, he's obviously shown some interest in going somewhere else. I think the trade offers will be a little bit lower because of that. Now, if we're going to see a trade, I think a contract extension will likely be a part of that. We've seen that with a couple of other players in the trade rumors, Erik Karlsson being one of them. There's some worries about him re-signing, about him going to a contract extension to any team he would get traded to potentially. Same thing with Max Pacioretty. There was a deal done to LA, but he didn't want to extend there. So the big thing there, and I think if Panarin will get traded, we'll likely see an extension from any team that trades for him. Now, for Artemi Panarin, it's going to be really interesting to see where the potential suitors will go throughout the season. We might see some more teams coming into the negotiations, because I think a lot of teams would want to have a guy like Panarin, even if it is like a 1 year deal. But even if it is like a rental, I don't know why teams wouldn't want to have a guy like that. Maybe like a Dallas, maybe like a San Jose, maybe like a Vegas. I feel like he can fit in a lot of different teams, and being one of the best wingers, I think, for next season, I feel like there's a lot of potential teams that will want to go after him. I think it will be wise and in best interest of a lot of teams, especially going down to the trade deadline, where I think we'll see a lot of interest coming from a lot of different teams, some maybe even not in the playoff picture. Now, on one side, you got the Artemi Panarin rumors, which has just been a mess in of itself, but you also got the Sergei Bobrovsky rumors that have just started coming up, because I think Panarin is showing interest in going. I think Bobrovsky is starting to show a little bit of interest in leaving Columbus for possibly a better future. Now, Jaro Kekalainen, the Columbus Blue Jackets GM, has shown interest in, not pulling the trigger, not waiting, and not being patient to deal with these guys. I mean, I think he has shown that he has interest in not having a John Tavares situation on his hands. I think he wants to get something done, whether it be a contract extension or a trade. I don't think he wants a John Tavares situation of a star player going to free agency, and with Bobrovsky and Panarin, I don't think he'd want two John Tavares situations on his hands. Now, Jaro Kekalainen said, quote, "I think we have to make some decisions based on where it goes at the appropriate time. If we can't work out a contract, then we'll have to make some decisions. I wouldn't say they're just going to stay and ride out into the sunset." Now, he's putting it pretty bluntly there. He obviously does not want to wait and does not want to be patient on these two guys. Whether he gets something done or he ends up trading them, I think he's going to make the decision sooner or later, rather than waiting towards the end of the season when it's far too late. Now, for Sergei Bobrovsky, he's pretty much exiting his prime. He's still one of the best goaltenders in the world, and he'll likely still be that way next season. I still think that Columbus has a solid future, especially if these two guys stay. But for Bobrovsky, I don't know why he wouldn't stay, because he's already had solid success in Columbus. Wherever he goes, I think that, honestly, it'll be a 1 year type thing. I think that's at free agency. He'll likely want to test that out at least. And while I don't think Sergei Bobrovsky or Artemi Panarin are quite at the level of a John Tavares, at least when it comes to the hype going to Toronto, I think that they're going to be a lister on the radar, especially if guys like Tyler Seguin go out to free agency. This next 2019 NHL free agent class could be spectacular, especially if Columbus doesn't make a deal. We could see them both go to free agency if they so choose. Now, for Sergei Bobrovsky in Columbus, while I'm not completely sold on Joonas Korpisalo, I think he's a solid guy for their future and possibly a starter for them. So if they lose Sergei Bobrovsky, I don't think it is the end-all, be-all. Well, I don't think they'll be a playoff team if they end up losing him, but I think they still have a solid future there. If Artemi Panarin leaves, I think that's a completely different story. Last season, it was really a down season for a lot of Columbus Blue Jackets forwards. We did not see a lot of them perform like they had been accustomed to, and Artemi Panarin Panarin was practically leading that squad, at least on the forward group, and he was the dominator there. So if they lose Artemi Panarin, I think it would have a bigger effect than if they lost Sergei Bobrovsky. Now, these contract and trade negotiations really do spin a new light for me. And with Columbus, they're one of my sleeper picks to come out of the Eastern Conference. But with these contract negotiations coming to a halt, with these trade rumors coming upon us, I think that if this were to happen, if both players were to be traded, then the hopes for them coming out of the East would be so unlikely. For me, they could possibly not be a playoff team. There's some drama there, and for these trade rumors, I think that this is really going to shape their franchise, what decisions they make, what Kekalainen does, and of course, what they get back if they end up trading him. Again, it's going to be sticky because they have two almost John Tavares-like situations on their hands, so next season, it's going to be super interesting for Columbus. And again, it really sucks for Columbus fans. It really sucks for the team in general. They have two franchise guys on their hands that they want to keep that have been core players for a long time. Bobrovsky instantly comes to mind. So for Columbus, this should be their highest priority going into next season, to either get something back if they were to trade him or to get these contracts signed. They need to do something, and Kekalainen definitely has a right idea, in my opinion, to get or to be a little bit less patient and get something done. I feel like waiting, in Columbus's opinion, while they could make a playoff run with these two players, I think it would be wise to just do something before it's too late. Learn from the New York Islanders like you have. But if I were to make a bet, honestly, on who would get traded, Artemi Panarin or Sergei Bobrovsky, I'd probably lean to the first guy in Artemi Panarin. He's shown interest in going somewhere else. He obviously has been quite dissatisfied with Columbus so far. So I think if at least one player were to get traded, I would have my bets on Artemi Panarin, just because I think it makes a lot more sense than Columbus giving up on Sergei Bobrovsky. I think that Kekalainen definitely has the right idea of doing something now, getting these contracts done, or trading them. I think it will be a big decision, but I think it will get done, and I think that's what's going to be exciting to see what happens there. So let's just say Columbus wants to make a trade. Let's just say that they're planning on doing that. I don't think there's going to be a lot of barriers there, unlike an Erik Karlsson, unlike a Max Pacioretty. I think it's going to be a done deal. I think the players want to get traded, and I think the ownership, if that does come to it, I think they won't be scared to pull the trigger, which is going to be exciting for those potential trades. And of course, as I said before, their entire future depends on these two players, whether they stay, whether they sign, or whether they get traded. It is all going to depend on this for the next few years of Columbus Blue Jackets hockey, which is scary in some respects, but also pretty exciting to see what happens. So I want to hear from you guys. What do you think about these potential rumors of Sergei Bobrovsky possibly getting traded, of Artemi Panarin possibly get traded? What do you think about those rumors, and what do you think will actually happen? So that's going for today, guys. If you guys enjoyed, make sure you like and subscribe. Again, tell me below, what do you think of this whole situation of Artemi Panarin and Sergei Bobrovsky with the Columbus Blue Jackets, and I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.